Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm John Reisinger.
Right off the news of Switch's super successful first month launch numbers, which are very impressive. Analysts from every corner of the industry are taking the opportunity to weigh in about what's coming next for Nintendo's hot seller, and some of them very reasonable, and some of them, they just went ham and read internet comments.
And one analyst made some headlines over the weekend with the rather bold claim that Nintendo will be releasing a mini-sized version of the Switch due out sometime before 2019.
It's not that out of the blue because we've seen Nintendo release a variety of form factors for both their consoles and handhelds over the years, and the Switch is conveniently both of those rolled into one. But is this something that would actually make sense for Nintendo this time around? That's the big question.
We do love making our stuff smaller, so it's a possibility.
Mini, and then discontinuing it because it does too well.
Yeah, the prediction of the Switch Mini comes from Citigroup, a financial analyst that expects Nintendo to go all in on making the Switch more portable than ever with a brand new, smaller version of the console. Because it's so not portable right now.
Right, you can't take it anywhere.
Yeah.
In a recent report about Nintendo, the company said, although the Nintendo Switch can be used as a handheld device, we think smaller children could struggle to use it comfortably in that format due to its size and weight. Accordingly, we think Nintendo will launch a lighter, dedicated handheld version of the Switch, possibly to be called the Switch Mini.
Based on their projections, a Switch Mini would be properly timed to give the Switch a new boost in sales in just a couple of years, landing before fiscal year 2019, which would start in March 2019. They offered no estimates about what the Switch Mini's price point would be, but did offer that they felt it would sell just under 7 million units within its first year, with the regular Switch selling just under 26 million total.
Of course, at the moment, it doesn't look like Nintendo needs a whole lot of help in getting Switch units off the shelves. In just the first month alone, it's already the fastest selling Nintendo console ever in many territories, moving 906,000 units in the US alone and an estimated 2.4 million around the world.
But in 2 years, that story could be totally different.
Yeah. I mean, the Wii U had a really strong launch in Japan.
That didn't stay the same.
Nope.
And the prediction that the Nintendo could shift strategies in that timeline isn't so far-fetched. It actually matches the timeline that Nintendo's taken with several of their hardware iterations in the past. Some of those previous attempts at refining their own hardware might even give us clues about what they plan on doing with the Switch next.
So put on your Professor Layton hat. It's time to sleuth. I like really Professor Layton.
I just like saying sleuth.
Sleuth. The 3DS got its bigger brother, 3DS XL, just a little over a year later, increasing in price from $170 to $200 in the process, in the US at least. The 3DS XL featured a bigger screen, more battery life, and an overall bump in girthiness. No blue pill needed.
Nintendo eventually downscaled with the Nintendo 2DS for a low price of $130, which ditched many of the 3DS's core concepts like 3D, but still retained a lot of its features for less money.
And while the 3DS got bigger, most other Nintendo revisions generally head in the direction of shrinkage.
Shrinkage happens.
The Game Boy Advance SP, then the Game Boy Micro both shrank in size. Plus, Nintendo's also released smaller versions of the Wii, a stripped down version of the system that only cost $99, as well as NES, SNES. They all got smaller over time.
Yeah, they do, don't they? But the most comparable thing the company's done in more recent memory would be the Nintendo DS, which got the DS Lite just around 2 years after its launch.
Now, in terms of differences, the DS Lite shrank noticeably in its dimensions. Remember, the original DS, love that thing, but it was a brick.
Yeah.
You could kill people with it pretty easy. The DS Lite ended up being around 40% smaller and 20% lighter overall. However, it was able to do that shrinking while keeping the screen size the same, which is, important for a lot of people. That's
impressive. Right now, the Switch's screen is 6.2 inches multi-touch capacitive LCD. In terms of its design, it's actually already a pretty slim profile, so it'd be hard to shrink the dimensions without also lowering the screen size the way Nintendo did with the DS to the DS Lite. How small would they go? Well, that's the part that's up for debate.
Right, to keep it truly mobile and still accessible for those who are used to using phones and touchscreens, it's hard to believe Nintendo would make a Switch Mini any smaller than a mobile phone. The current industry standard is just about 5 inches. There are some variations in there, but that's right around average.
So 5 inches
for
is
a
the
lot
average.
Of things. Yeah, for a lot of things.
Got it. Fuck. The problem is, shrinking the size of the phone would cause a few problems for the Joy-Cons. At the moment, the standard Joy-Con is designed to sit flush with the Switch's vertical dimensions. It's possible Nintendo would release mini versions of the Joy-Cons as well, meant for the little kids, but not as likely considering those things are small enough already.
Right, especially if you have to detach them, turn them on their sides to use them as a little mini controller. You get much smaller than that, and there's nothing there. Or there's also some speculation out there that Nintendo could ditch the Joy-Con's primary functionality of detaching from the system, making it a little bit more like a traditional handheld, but I mean, I get that one seems pretty easy to debunk because it would completely undermine the point of the Switch to begin with. So much of its branding, down to the logo and even the damn, snap sound, are all built around being able to switch between modes and controller configurations on the fly. Like,
oh, I just got that. That's good.
Really?
Yeah. Plus,
wait, what?
I don't think I'd ever really made that connection, really.
About it being able to switch between modes?
Yeah.
What? Oh, John.
I never promised I was a smart guy. Plus, Nintendo has already shown that they are committed to the Joy-Con. In a recent teardown of the Switch to figure out the system's manufacturing costs, it was revealed that the Switch costs about $260 to produce. When you factor in shipping and retail cuts, that means Nintendo's barely makes money on the Switch at all. But more,
if anything.
Yeah, more interestingly, $90 of that manufacturing cost comes from just the Joy-Cons, which retail for $10 less than that.
Right, so Nintendo's taken a loss on selling the Joy-Cons separately, which is interesting. That's not something you really do if you're willing to ditch that piece of hardware somewhere down the line. That means that you really believe in it, that you want to move it. Also, I really hope costs are gonna come down soon because they're already starting to release the limited edition versions or new colors and everything. Now there's the neon yellow that they announced that's coming out with, what, Splatoon? I'm waiting, personally, for the red one that you know is coming for Mario Odyssey.
Oh yeah, that's totally gonna happen. Another consideration for a Switch Mini would be the battery life. Shrinking the size of the Switch would possibly mean shrinking the size of its battery, perhaps giving it less battery life overall.
Which you don't want.
Yeah, it's already a major criticism of the system, lasting a reported 2.5 to 6 hours maybe, but playing a game like Breath of the Wild typically yields results on the low side of that range.
As for the Switch's weight, Citigroup does have a little bit of a point there. It's for spaghetti arms. The 3DS weighs about half as much as the Switch does, coming in around 8 ounces versus just under a pound. 78 ounces difference may not seem like much when you just sang it, but it can add up when you're talking about puny little kid arms and long periods of time.
They just don't have those games.
They don't have the strength.
Yeah, we'll just keep going. The real question for Nintendo, if they were to bring out a smaller version of the Switch, would be what they stand to gain from it. They're being extremely conscious about what the Switch means for the 3DS, and going all in on a more portable Switch would potentially cannibalize their super popular handheld's market share.
And they just held a direct where they said, look at all the stuff we're still doing for 3DS because we believe in it and we're still supporting it. It's not going away. And then that would, if Nintendo ever did opt for a smaller, much more portable version of the Switch, that would probably be a calculated move to kill off the 3DS. But that's not something they do lightly, especially when that smaller version of the Switch probably wouldn't offer that many more benefits than the base Switch. If anything, there's just as much demand for a Switch XL with a bigger screen because it already doesn't fit in pockets, so just go ham.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe Nintendo will give us more clues about their ongoing plans at their financial briefing next week. That's when they're expected to not only detail the Switch's exact numbers, but maybe even outline some of its future.
Although I'd be surprised if they're already saying, hey, it's been out a month, look at the other hardware iterations we're gonna do. It's probably gonna be a year before we hear anything like that, I would predict. I mean, look, at this point, I'm just as qualified as any other analyst making random guesses on the internet, right?
Yeah!
I read some things online.
She did.
What do you guys think of the rumors of a Switch Mini? Would you want a smaller, more portable Switch? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on Switch and whether it's going Mini or XL, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here, maybe subscribe to the know.
Can't believe you don't know what Switch was.
I think I might have. I think I might have. I think I just got reminded. Based on their projections, a Switch Mini would be properly. I should read all the words.
Nah, don't bother.
Bumpin' Girthiness is my new band name. Nintendo eventually downscale from the Nintendo